one of the things that I think, Dave, in answering your question, God originally created mankind in his image, and he created them, Adam and Eve, and people can argue about that. But prior even to the creation of Adam and Eve, there was a pre-Adamic civilization. That's a war. Boy, you talk about, the gap theory, that's a war. But all of the illustrations through myths, legends, oral traditions, every form of stele, every form of rock carving, rock drawing, petroglyphs, every form of transmission of information from previous ages always deals with hybrids, a combination of something that may have some human features, but it has a combination of the like a satyr or a unicorn or whatever. There's basically a combination, if you will, an unholy alliance. I'm on record as stating that the point is that anything that is modified beyond God's original. Look, I'm for the blind being able to see, the lame being able to walk, exoskeletons, endoskeletons. But what we're talking about, that would be, I would say, in the electromechanical realm. What we're talking about is something far more sinister, something far more penetrating, something much deeper, to the very alteration of the genetic code itself. The CRISPR technology, gene splicing. And as just an interesting fact, if it hadn't been for a thermophile bacteria in Yellowstone Park in what's called mushroom geyser pool, the gene editing of CRISPR-9 and the whole, if you will, Nobel Prize-winning discovery of Kary Mullis made for the possibility of basically editing anything into anything and producing just about any combination you can imagine. And that came out of the smallest bacteria in Yellowstone Park. And so the point is, everyone's worried about Yellowstone blowing a volcano. I tell them this, something beyond a volcanic eruption took place from a microbe in Yellowstone Park that has changed the history of mankind forever. So my answer to that question there, asking when does an it, let's just call it an it, cease to be human? And the idea is simply that a good example is Jesus died for mankind. The Bible is very clear. Jesus didn't die for the angels that sinned. A casual reading of the book of Enoch, the book of Giants, some of the pseudepigraphal works, and Tom has a new Bible that he's giving away that is just a marvelous masterpiece. We're not going to talk about that in great detail, but the point being is it explains. So that's why I personally and Tom personally have joint ventures for the different projects we're doing, is because we're showing people that there's nothing new under the sun. And so when you deal with, we used to have the word, Dave, reprobates. Now we got reprobots, okay? And that's a reprobate robot. Because what you're seeing now is a whole transition. Tom, you remember when you and I first met and started on talk radio, it was pretty hard for people to imagine when I'm saying, hey, guess what, everybody? You're going to see the day when robots are going to come in, sex bots, and that was my term, 27 years ago. And you're going to see a flocking, you're going to see a fleeing, and then when you add virtual pornography, when you add sensory sharing, where literally the movie stars are already being, approached on the maybe movie fallen stars are being approached by certain people in this realm to be able to share their experience through shared thought processes. So when you start messing with DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, and all the different things that Sharon Gilbert's going to be talking about, and by the way, Sharon is a molecular biologist, very, very bright and gifted writer, very bright communicator, and she'll be talking about that because she is, a molecular biologist. What is critical about Branson is this. And by the way, Tom, just for your information, I think we just went over half point. The reason we're trying to get people to register early, and Dave, you are coming, obviously, there's quite a few people that are on talk radio because it's critical that people get to understand the full ramifications. And I also salute you, as Tom has, for explaining to students, because all a student knows about, basically the majority of them only think this, oh, cool, I'll be a superhero. And I'll be dealing at Branson with the whole genre of science fiction, but I'll be dealing with what I would term prehistory enunciation of science fiction. Now, there's a mouthful. And when I wrote the book Genetic Armageddon, Today's Technology, Tomorrow's Monsters, and then 15 years later, I think it was 15 years, I wrote the book Xenogenesis, Changing Men into Monsters. The subtitle was, I think, even, an advancement. So we've got reprobate robots, we've got snuff bots, murder bots in essence, if you will, techno-assassins, we've got the sex bots, and then we've got swarm bots, miniature bots, we've got smart dust. And the thing that I think is critical, and this is what's interesting, Tom, because as you read the milieu, the criticism from the people in that paper against you and I, they actually gave a very telling statement away. So the point is we're seeing this fallen angel thread. We're seeing the entire book of Enoch coming to pass. We're seeing the future as predicted in science fiction that has generally led to this. And Tom wrote the expose on the Vatican's acceptance, getting their flock, the faithful flock, prepared to baptize aliens. I'll give everybody the great bottom line in this. Aliens cannot be baptized. They are not created in the image and likeness of God. Now, obviously, some philosophical Jesuit would question that, but didn't God create all the beings of the universe? Well, that isn't relevant because Jesus died on a cross, was resurrected from the grave, and we, in turn, are told in the Bible, and by the way, isn't it interesting, Tom, they attack it night and day, but then they have to use spiritual terms to even begin to articulate. How about Ray Kurzweil's book, Spiritual Machines, okay? And Dave, that is probably one of the most pronounced, I should say this, declarations of future horror that can be made. Demon-possessed machines. I think it was Stephen King had a book about Christine or something that made it into a movie, and I'm not sure if that's, I could be wrong there, but it's the one where you have vehicles that are basically demon-possessed cars, trucks, or there were a couple of them, beyond Stephen King. But the point is that, and this is my question before the Lord right now, Lord, where is the transfer point? Where is the interconnect? What is it that will determine when those things become demon-possessed? So when you put this into the spiritual realm, and understand, Kurzweil already has brought the idea of spiritual machines. Now you've got the group. What's the name of that guy that wrote the treatise of? He's not the head of the Tom Hornstein Quayle fan club. The guy from Oxford.
Jonathan O'Donnell.
Yeah, Jonathan O'Donnell. But he's using the word demons. Let me clarify for people. I'll turn it right back to you, Tom. A demon is a disembodied spirit. According to the Book of Enoch, according to the early church fathers, who, by the way, all believed in giants in the Genesis 6 account, the idea is that a disembodied spirit was, for instance, out of the body of Goliath. People lose a very important point in talking about the Nephilim. The Rephaim are the giants, but the Nephilim, in my opinion, are the fallen angel progenitors of the Rephaim. There were giants in the land before the flood of Noah and after. But there's a whole period of time of the Golden Age before mankind was even on the earth. And when you hear about the fallen angels, and one group of them are the Grigori, and the Grigori are singing and begging God and asking Enoch to intercede to God on their behalf. And God says to Enoch, basically, it's not going to work. I'm paraphrasing. It's not going to work, Enoch. And he's saying they should have been interceding for you. So the point is that we are at a time now where demon-possessed machines, the invisible is becoming visible. The barriers are down. As Tom Horn opened the gates of my understanding with his statement years and years ago, the gates of hell were open. And it's a point to be made. When a gate is opened, whatever is behind the gate is going to get out. And that's exactly what's going on.